I think it'd be incredibly important on a couple of different fronts, right? I think, speaking for me personally, obviously it'd be an incredible honor, right, to play baseball at that level. Because if you think of, you know, I'm sure we often have the discussion of like who's the greatest athlete ever or the most dominant athlete ever or whatever. And anytime we have those discussions, we're considering it on a world stage, right? So if you think of, who's the greatest, fastest man ever, right? Usain Bolt. Well, we know that because he competed against the best in the world, right? Same with like a Michael Phelps, for example, or even if you look at golf, right? The best golfers in the world are competing on the world stage. Same thing with like even the UFC, right? Like it's fighters on the world stage. So when the World Baseball Classic came around, we got to see similar to like the World Cup, right? It's a different energy, and I think you can see watching it how much pride the players take in it.
Hello and welcome to episode 61 of the Irish Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Becker. You just heard from David Gallagher on what it would mean for Ireland to be represented in a future incarnation of the World Baseball Classic. Gallagher is a member of the Irish Wolfhounds baseball team who will be taking on the NYPD Finest on June 17th in Rockland County, New York. For tickets and more information, head to irishbaseball.org. We'll hear an interview with David Gallagher later in the show, but right now I have the other side of that ball game. Dennis O'Sullivan is the manager of the NYPD Finest baseball team. Dennis, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me.
So I think when a lot of people hear the NYPD Finest, and they might be thinking this is a group of guys who gets together kind of like a beer league softball team, but it could not be further from the truth. There is a lot of talent on your ball club.
Very much so. We have probably certainly the biggest police department on the planet. We do have a wide pool to choose from. So we have everyone on the team played college ball. Handful of guys played independent leagues. We had some guys in the past that have played minor league ball, like as high as AA, I believe, or guys who have had consideration from teams, gone to workouts, that they're competitive enough. And we practice a couple times a week. We play 3 or 4 games a week during the season, and we play in leagues. We play in tournaments. We do charity events. We travel for other goodwill trips, tournaments at home and abroad. When all said and done, every year we end up playing anywhere from 60 to 80 games a summer or a season.
That's awesome, and we don't want to focus too much on the upcoming game, June 17th, against the Irish Wolfhounds, but we do want to talk about it for just a quick minute. How did all of this sort of come about, and how excited are you to take on another team that might have a surprisingly deep bench of talent?
We're definitely excited. We always want to make new friends with new teams from any corner of the planet we can find. We recently did a trip to Colombia, played some local teams in Cartagena, Colombia. So our reach is like always looking for new bases, new friends, new competition, new challenges. Nowadays, that the world is so much smaller with social media, and it's so much easier to interact and meet people, share ideas, make new friends, whatever. I guess both teams have a social media presence or are able to interact in different communities that we both probably like circles we both operate in. The Rockland Boulders is an organization just outside of New York City. They're very friendly with us. They have a great organization, like a total class act from the general manager down to the guy who sweeps the floors. They're all incredible people there. So they're always looking to host events, and when we come across people or someone comes across somebody, we're all about setting up games. And, if they're anything like us, and I bet they are, just baseball players, they're always eager to new competition, make new friends, take on new challenges.
So how does this team sort of help the NYPD to interact with people in some different ways? Because I think a lot of people are used to, if they're interacting with the police, it's probably not something great. Like either, they've had something happen to them, or, maybe they're being suspected of something. But this is a way to sort of get officers in the NYPD out in the public and not dealing in those harsher interactions.
Exactly like you said, some people have a certain perception of what police are like, who they are, what they do. So a lot of teams that we play for the first time, they probably come with some kind of bias or some kind of, preset notion of what it's going to be like. And as the game goes on, they see like that we're just like them. We're just regular guys. We end up laughing with like they laugh because we make fun of each other more than anything. I usually have to warn umpires before games, like, listen, when you hear my guys yelling, like they're yelling at each other and making fun of each other, like they're just having a great time. So other teams, they can't help but fall in love with us as well, with just seeing how much fun we have. And then by the end of the season, like if there's a new team in the league that maybe was skeptical, by the end of the year, these teams they all love us. We've had guys that we played against that said they became cops and now play on our team because they played against our team.
And I have no idea how to fathom the stress that you must be under on a day-to-day basis at work, all of your players. So how great is this, not only for getting the NYPD out in the community and showing people, more of the personal side of some of the officers, but how great is it for the officers to have this time to sort of unwind and engage in something that's physical activity, that's getting them out in the nice weather, getting them to do something, sort of be in a group, but not always in that high stress work environment.
I'm constantly reminding the guys. I always give them the saying, I'd rather have a bad day on the field than a good day at work. It's a great way to blow off steam. It's a great way to work with your friends, whether you need to vent or you need advice. It's a great way to network and meet other people from around the city, because the officers or the players on our team are spread out throughout the city. So it's great for that. It's a great way for, team building. I always tell them being good at one will make you better at the other. So if you're a good cop, you're going to probably be a good teammate. You're going to be a good ball player. If you work hard on the field, that same work ethic will carry over to work. And it's a win-win all around. It's just nothing but good comes out of playing a great team sport.
And what's it like as the manager of this team to try to deal with all of these big personalities? I mean, these are people who are used to being in control of most of the situations they deal with during the course of the day. So what's it like to be the person sort of in control of all those different types of personalities?
I remind them like some of them once in a while, like a new guy will call me coach. I tell him like, I'm not your coach. Every guy in the team is your coach. Everyone helps each other. I'm here to manage the game and manage personalities. And I try to at least, like there's times where I need to manage a guy like a pitcher. I may leave him out there a little bit longer than I should, just because I know maybe he needs the confidence boost to show that I have confidence in him to get through a certain situation. So a lot of it is managing like I know what hours everybody works. I know if somebody did a midnight shift and they come to a 10 o'clock game after getting right out of work in the morning, like what I can expect from them and how I can put them in a position to succeed. So a lot of it is managing the game and juggling that with managing the personalities.
And then obviously the name Dennis O'Sullivan. This is the Irish Baseball Podcast, so I'm assuming that we have a long line of Irish heritage in your background. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Not only, your Irish heritage, but how it sort of shapes your personality.
Well, both of my parents immigrated here from Ireland. My father from Cork and my mother from Roscommon. I've been to Ireland probably 12 or 13 times in my life, always planning to go, trying to plan another trip. So it's obviously it's still a big part of my life. My parents still have, a lot of my friends can't understand their brogues. Everything about my life is, comes from my Irish heritage. And then just growing up here in America, my brother and I were born here, first generation. But we certainly are constantly reminded with like a large Irish Catholic family that I'm in touch with my cousins who are still scattered around Ireland, my aunts and uncles, some of which live in America, many that live still in Ireland. So it's a constant part of my life.
And obviously there's almost the stereotype of the Irish cop that was developed for now well over a century in the Northeast of the United States. Do you find that there still is this tendency for a lot of Irish Americans to gravitate towards the police force, or is maybe that tapering off a little bit now in the 21st century?
I do know, obviously, the historical context of it, but it's certainly changed for the better. That our team is very diverse, for a lot of guys from different backgrounds. So culturally, guys are exposed to different, like the Puerto Rican guys, the Dominican guys, the guys from Southern and Central American, still like a couple guys with Irish heritage, and it makes for such a great melting pot and a great mesh of people. Like I always say, like our team is what society should be. It's just nobody cares what anybody looks like. They all just love baseball, and it's a common thread that brings everyone together. It's part of the beauty of the game, or any team sport. Just baseball happens to be our favorite one. So it's a great way to bring different people together from one common goal, one common love of a sport.
Dennis O'Sullivan, thank you so much for joining us on the Irish Baseball Podcast. Can't wait to see you guys take on the Irish Wolfhounds on June 17th. For tickets, head to irishbaseball.org. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. We're looking forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be a great time. Like I said, we always want to make new friends from different places, and I'm sure they're going to have a great time as well.
That was Dennis O'Sullivan, the manager of the NYPD Finest baseball team, who will be taking on our very own Irish Wolfhounds on June 17th in Rockland County, New York. For tickets, go to irishbaseball.org. I'm Rick Becker. Sam Davis is going to have the call for that game, and here he is with David Gallagher of the Wolfhounds.
Welcome to a special interview leading up to the first ever all-Irish baseball team, the Irish Wolfhounds, playing on June 17th. I'm Sam Davis. A pleasure now to be joined by David Gallagher, a member of Ireland's national baseball team last year. He's going to be playing shortstop, third base for the Irish Wolfhounds. David, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, Sam. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure for sure.
Of course. And David, you spent a year of your childhood living in Westport, County Mayo. What does it mean for you to represent your country, playing for now the Irish American Baseball Society, but as well last year with Ireland's national baseball team?
So I was born in America, right? I was born in Cleveland. My parents are from Ireland. Basically, all of my family is. And when we were a kid, I think I was about 13. I would have been in like 8th grade here. So we decided to up and move to Ireland. My brothers and I went kicking and screaming, of course. But when we got there, obviously being surrounded by family, it was an incredible experience. One thing that was a shock for sure was that there was no talk of baseball when we lived there. So Gaelic football, rugby, things like that were what we spent our time doing. But as far as what it means to me, it's an incredible opportunity, right? Not everybody gets to represent where they come from, their country, their blood, right, on the national stage or the international stage, and now especially with the Olympics and the World Baseball Classic. The international level really is the highest level of baseball that's being played. And we saw it this year. I think it was evident in the World Baseball Classic. So this is where my family comes from. I'm incredibly proud to be from there. My parents are incredibly proud to be from there. So it really has been a real incredible opportunity, a good blessing. And I'm excited to see still what the future holds, right? Because I think as Irish people, we're very proud in general. That's probably one of our most well-known qualities, right? So I think the Irish blood definitely runs thick in my family as well.
David, you mentioned, growing up originally Cleveland, Ohio. What made you interested in the game of baseball from a young age, going back to your roots there?
Yeah, to be honest with you, Sam, I don't even remember. I have 2 younger brothers. One of them is 18 months younger than me. So him and I kind of grew up together playing just sports in general. Obviously, my parents being from Ireland, they had, my dad had no idea what baseball was when he came here.
Probably didn't even know the rules or anything, I assume, right?
I mean, I guess the only frame of reference would have been like cricket or rounders, right? But when he came here, one of the blessings he gave us was he wasn't like, okay, you're going to play soccer because I played soccer, right? So he was like, yeah, I guess whatever they take to. And sometime along the way, we started throwing a ball and hitting it. And we really took to it. So we were big like Cleveland Indians fans growing up, and played our whole lives with baseball. And it was definitely the sport that we took to the most.
Playing, you played a couple years at Marshall University, a couple years at University of Mount Olive, and then a couple years, obviously, independent ball, pro ball. So now being away from college and professional baseball, How much do you look forward to stepping back out on the field and just like lacing those cleats up again and getting back out there?
Yeah. So to be honest, Sam, I had a pretty bad injury when I was a senior in high school, and it kind of derailed my career in a lot of ways, and I was very bitter at baseball. I didn't really have a college career, so yeah, I was on the team, but didn't really play much, didn't really have much to show for it. So, there was 5 years between when I stopped playing in college and when I picked back up in independent ball. And like I said, I was very bitter at the game. Thought I was dealt, a bad hand when it came to my shoulder injury. But the time away, it was just like something was missing, and it was an itch that needed to be scratched. And then began getting back into independent ball, kind of going on that circuit. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing like stepping between those white lines. It doesn't matter, what you do, right? Whether it's business or hobbies or whatever, like you said, lacing up the cleats, getting between the white lines, and then having Ireland on your chest. It is special. And like I said, that's why I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity. But yeah, it's a buzz that's tough to replicate elsewhere. That's for sure.
Certainly is. I miss my playing days as well, so I get that also. How important would it be for you? And I kind of asked this a little bit already, but you mentioned the World Baseball Classic and how much of a success that was this past year. If you can imagine Ireland being in the World Baseball Classic, how special do you think that would be? And for you personally, if you were playing in that World Baseball Classic, how important would that be for you?
I think it'd be incredibly important on a couple of different fronts, right? I think, speaking for me personally, it'd be an incredible honor, right, to play baseball at that level. Because if you think of, I'm sure we often have the discussion of like who's the greatest athlete ever or the most dominant athlete ever or whatever. And anytime we have those discussions, we're considering it on a world stage, right? So if you think of, who's the greatest, fastest man ever, right? Usain Bolt. Well, we know that because he competed against the best in the world, right? Same with like a Michael Phelps, for example, or even if you look at golf, right? The best golfers in the world are competing on the world stage. Same thing with like even the UFC, right? Like it's fighters on the world stage. So when the World Baseball Classic came around, we got to see, similar to like the World Cup, right? It's a different energy. And I think, you can see watching it how much pride the players take in it. And for me personally, obviously, it would be the ultimate honor to not only play the game I love, but do it at the highest level, representing where I'm from, right? So it's kind of, it's tough to beat. But I think for Ireland's perspective, I just think it's such an incredible opportunity because if the goal is to grow the game, right? I think, you said you spent some time there. The energy in Ireland is different. They're very like proud people to be where they're from, and they have a work ethic and a tenacity that's tough to compete with, right? And we look at from a baseball perspective, if the goal is to grow the game, I think the World Baseball Classic is the route, right? And I've drawn the comparison similar to if you think of when they were trying to grow soccer in America, right? Over the past decade or so, what they did was they brought the world's biggest stars, right? So they brought David Beckham, they brought Henry, Ibrahimovic, all these people to America, and kids in America, watching David Beckham play for the LA Galaxy, they didn't care he was from England. They just saw a guy in America playing soccer, and they were like, okay, well, I want to try that. Right, similar to even an Irish guy like Conor McGregor, right? Like, I don't necessarily agree with everything he does, but I think from an athlete's perspective, you got to give the man his due, to build the recognition for the sport the way he did in Ireland. Before he came along, there was no Irish guys in the UFC, definitely no champions. And now, from what I've understood, there's a UFC gym on every corner in Dublin. And it's because he won, right? So yeah, he had the gold belts, but he had an Irish flag draped around his back when he was holding those gold belts, right? So I think the opportunity we have to grow the game of baseball is twofold. Obviously, it starts grassroots, right? It starts with the people in Ireland, and there's certainly some very capable people there that I've come to know who are very passionate about the game, right? So I think that part is very important. And then I think we have the unique ability and opportunity to kind of inject experience, knowledge, talent, wisdom of the game, right? Know-how into that and kind of cut the learning curve, right? So it gives us the opportunity to take advantage of growing the game grassroots while, the American Irish influence can really be like added to that. And then that's where we see the game can explode, because, I'm thinking of, if you're a kid in Ireland, right. And you're looking for something to do, and it's on ESPN, or someone's streaming it, and you see guys with Ireland on their chest playing baseball. Again, you don't care the kids from Cleveland or the kids from Chicago or the kids from Dublin or wherever. All you're seeing is Ireland. And you're going to think, well, dang, that looks kind of cool. I want to go do that. And that's going to send an influx of kids into the programs, the grassroots programs in Ireland, which I said, they have very capable people there running it. I think it all ultimately just comes down to, it always comes down to players, right? Players and structure. So if you have talent, you can compete. And I think we have the talent. Between the guys in Ireland, and then certainly the people who, I don't want to say like American Irish, like we're Irish, right? Like that's what we are. That's what we, would say we're from. So having the opportunity for us to, like I said, kind of inject that energy, that passion, that talent, that wisdom, that knowledge, that experience into the Irish game, I don't see why it wouldn't be the best of both worlds for everybody. If the goal is to grow the game and then to compete on the world scale, right? Because there's all kinds of, stuff, recognition, funding, all the stuff comes from winning. Winning solves all, right? So if we can get to that level and compete at that level, I think it's going to be such an opportunity. But the other thing is, like, time is of the essence, and we got to make sure we take advantage of, I think, this generation of players, because we've got some incredible kids that I've played with over the past couple of years on the Irish national team, who are really passionate about it. But at the same time, we want to be in a position to compete and to win, right? And I think that solves all, is if we can get to the World Baseball Classic and compete, because we saw some of the teams, right? Great Britain and France and Germany and some of these teams. And, obviously you live in New York. So if you walk around New York, every other person's Italian or Irish, right? So there's an Irish roots that's there that we can draw from. There's players, right? So I think, we've got a real opportunity to do some damage and make some headway. But I think, like I said, time is of the essence, and there's no better way to figure out if we can really do it than to compete at the world's biggest stage.
Certainly true. June 17th, the Irish Wolfhounds are going to make their debut. If you can't make it to the game at Clover Stadium in New York, check out our live stream. More information on that. The Irish American Baseball Society social media. David, thank you so much for taking some time. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I appreciate it. And good luck on the call. Hopefully you'll be calling some home runs for us.
I hope so. We'll see. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm Rick Becker, and we are very busy here at the Irish Baseball Podcast. We're so busy that we're going to change up our normal schedule of every other week. I will be back next Monday, May 28th, to talk with two members of the front office for the Jersey Shore Blue Claws, the High A minor league affiliate of the Philadelphia Phillies. They will preview their upcoming Irish Heritage Night and talk about all the great things that come from working in minor league baseball. This is the Irish Baseball Podcast.